welcome back to another glorious morning. It actually looks nice and sunny, but it's currently raining and it's like 5 degrees. I've actually had to admit defeat and start wearing leggings as well. Anyway, what are we doing today? Well, the big job for today is we need to start muck spreading. We have a lagoon on our out farm. It has to be emptied every single year or else it's an absolute nightmare to deal with over the winter. So we're going to have 2 days to get the lagoon emptied, and hopefully the fields the muck has to be spread on is going to be dry enough and this isn't going to turn into a complete mess and a complete nightmare. Also, it was unplanned that we'd be doing the muck spreading at the end of this week, and I washed that Puma yesterday. I washed it yesterday. Don't wash your tractor before you do muck spreading. That was a really bad decision. Shush! More news from the farm this week is that our cows have started to calve again. So far we have had 2 calves. This cow calved yesterday. I think it's a heifer calf. I haven't actually checked. It's out of sex semen, so you would assume it's a heifer. It is a heifer. Excellent. Interesting fact for you all, out of all the sex semen I've used on this farm over the last probably 10 years now, I have got 86% females, 14% bulls. Okay, let's go let the cows out and I'll give you an update on what else has been happening at the start of the week. Today's Thursday, by the way, I didn't say that yet. Today's Thursday. We got all of the reseeding finished up on Monday. The field hasn't been rolled for a second time yet, it's just been too wet. I might get that done later on this evening. Then most of Tuesday was spent gathering up animals and putting them into the house because we were TB testing on Wednesday. Oh my word, it's so cold this morning. So we got the TB testing done on Wednesday morning. We were finished up around 2 o'clock and then we went and got a field of slurry done before milking. So really we haven't actually achieved that much this week. It's kind of been dominated by the TB test. We are reading the test on Saturday. We are currently open, so we don't have TB. And if we do have TB, there's really big implications and really big financial consequences. At least the freezing rain has stopped, so I'll not complain. I think it's meant to be dry today. So if we are closed with TB, there's 2 main consequences. Number one, we're already short of silage this year. We were closed with TB last year, but thankfully we had made a bumper crop of silage, which meant that we had enough grass to pretty much feed all of the extra animals that we had. For this year, we are definitely short of silage. We definitely do not have that luxury. And the plan is to sell quite a lot of surplus stock. So sell some heifers earlier than we normally would, sell all the bull calves and the beef calves earlier than we normally would. And we will also keep the herd at around 180 cows, whereas last year we pushed it up to 190. However, if we have TB, we can't do any of that. We're stuck with the animals we have. We have a lot of cows calving, a lot of heifers calving in, and the only way we have then to control stock numbers is to cull cows. And you really do not want to be culling cows just for the sake of trying to keep stock numbers down. So the first consequence if we have TB on Friday is we can't control stock numbers. And the second consequence, which is equally dire, is we can't control our cash flow as effectively. We have a surplus of heifers calving in later in the autumn. The price of them surplus heifers in the mart is really good. We're not making money on it. It costs us nearly as much to rear them as we do for selling them. But if we have the ability to sell 15 calved heifers, that is a heck of a lot of money to add into your bank account to help with the cash flow over winter. Combine that with like the microtransactions of selling calves, not having to buy the meal to feed them, it could honestly make a £50,000 difference to our cash flow over the next 6 months if we are open or if we are closed with TB. Now that £50,000 is not profit, that is cash flow. There is 100% an implication on profit as well from having TB, but that's really hard to quantify. And that's not my immediate concern. My immediate concern with getting TB is that I can't control my stock numbers, I can't control my cash flow, and it's just going to make this winter a lot more difficult. Okay, that was a pretty depressing start to the video, so let's talk about some positives. Positive number 1, the sunrise on a clear morning in September is incredible. I actually really love a cold, crisp September morning on the farm. Little break in our positives. That's all the gates set up for the cows. They're going in at the back of this field today. With lots of gates and entrances into every single field. And the fields are dry at the minute, but come later into autumn, I really want to push the grazing out into November, trying to save silage, and them multiple entrances and exits are invaluable. Anyway, back to our positives. Positive number 2, it looks like there is a high pressure system coming at the end of next week, which would be pretty much perfect timing for my 4th cut silage. Watching everyone else in the entire country cut their silage in the good weather at the weekend was mildly stressful. I've definitely taken a gamble by leaving my 4th cut a little bit longer, but the extra fertiliser I applied last week has really paid off. The fields have went from yellow back to green again. They're growing really, really well. So if I get my grass off dry at the end of next week, the gamble will have paid off to the tune of about £10,000. So assuming I get that good weather, that's really good news. And our final positive for this morning is that our cows are milking so much better than they were 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago we were all the way down at just over 20 litres per cow per day, and at the minute we are back up to nearly 24 litres per cow per day. Some of that increase is because we changed from our 3rd cut silage onto our 2nd cut silage. Maybe that accounts for half a litre to a litre, but the main reason for the increase is just that the weather has dried up. The grass in the fields have dried up, the cows can eat more of it. They've got more energy, so they're producing more milk. If we put that extra 3.5 to 4 litres into financial terms, I am making over £100 a day extra profit. So that's you pretty much up to speed with the events on the farm so far this week. So I'll show you the out farm later on. I never really show that on camera because I'm very rarely there, to be honest. I'll show you a bit of the muck spreading, and then I want to talk about the future infrastructure plans for the farm. Because having an out farm is a pain in the ass, and I really want to bring it back to the home farm. But there is problems with doing that, and I'm not just talking about how much it costs, but we'll get into that later in the video. So that's where the calving rope went. What on earth? That's hot. Well, welcome to our out farm. This place sucks. This place really, really sucks. We still have a large outdoor lagoon, and in these sheds behind us we winter about 120 animals, mainly dry cows, in-calf heifers. That's it, dry cows and in-calf heifers. And all of the manure from them animals, all of the old bad silage, all of the old bad bedding ends up in this lagoon, and it has to be emptied every single year. This lagoon also collects an awful lot of rainwater, which makes it even more awkward to empty. But we got the water pumped out of it on Wednesday, so now we're down to the manure. They've been at this all day. There's still another full day here to get this emptied, and I'm going to take over for the next hour or so to try and get some more done while they go home to milk. Whilst my dad and David were at this all day, me and Calvin were getting some slurry done. It's very rare, other than silage, that we have 4 people in 4 vehicles, but today was one of them days. So I feel like I have got a lot done today, which is a nice feeling. But now, the not nice feeling, which is I am destroying the fields on this out farm to get this manure spread. Well, I say I am destroying the fields. This is only my second load. My dad has destroyed the fields by trying to get this manure spread. I will try and give you a really quick explanation as to why we end up destroying these fields every single year. And that's the reason why they're always wet. It's the reason why we only get 2 cuts of silage off them. It's the reason why I need to drain them. It's the reason why I am going to reseed them. So because they're at the out farm towards the end of the year, after the second cut silage has been taken off, we let the animals that are normally kept in them sheds run around the 30 acres of ground over here. And in a dry year, that works really, really well. You can keep the animals out, you don't have to make silage, you don't have to spread slurry. It's actually not a terrible idea. However, in a year like we've just had, where August was really, really wet, just like it was last August, outwintering the animals on these fields after they've been cut for silage is catastrophic. Look at the mess from trying to get this manure spread. It's all poached and it's just wet, and then trying to go on and spread manure and slurry is just bad times. But it is what it is. We don't have a lot of choices. This lagoon is being emptied over the next 2 days, and that's just it. Next week we have our 4th cut silage to do. We have a lot of slurry to draw away from the home farm. It's just one of them things. We're just going to get on with it. If we make a mess, we make a mess. This is such a mess. Like, I mean, such a mess. This genuinely hurts me to my very core, and I can only apologize that you also have to witness such a disastrous situation. Okay, it's actually not that bad. I'm being a little bit dramatic, but we are definitely leaving tracks. We're definitely doing damage to the soil structure, and these fields definitely need reseeded. Look at the state of the field. Like, the cattle have destroyed this field. Oh, flip my life. What am I gonna do? Just, my answer to everything now is just plow it. And before you say, why did you put the cattle in here when it was so wet? I didn't want to put the cattle in here. I suggested the cattle go into the house, we feed them silage, and then we take a 3rd cut off this ground. That would have been the smarter decision by a long shot. However, there's just some things that I can't take responsibility for, some things that I can't control. I have to leave my dad to manage some parts of the farm. I don't have the time or the energy to deal with absolutely everything, and he made the decision to put the cattle over here, and that's the result. That may sound like I'm blaming him for this mess, and I absolutely am. It really isn't the end of the world. We're doing a little bit of damage, but it'll be fine. Let's just move on. Let's get this lagoon emptied, and we can move on with our lives. Even my poor JCB is so dirty. Oh, it's the worst job. Oh, yeah. The long-term plan is very much to bring this farm home. However, thanks to the wonderful way in which Northern Ireland agriculture works, even though we would have no extra animals, we cannot get planning permission to bring this out farm back to the home farm. How replacement buildings aren't allowed planning permission because of ammonia blows my mind. It is so unimaginably dumb. It's the perfect example of government incompetence. You can't get planning to increase stock numbers because there is too much ammonia in the air. Okay, if you want to reduce ammonia, I kind of get that. At least it's logical. However, to refuse planning permission on replacement buildings where animal numbers stay the same and ammonia is likely reduced because there is mitigation measures you can put into new buildings is insane. It's totally insane. So that's reason number one why we can't bring this out farm back to the home farm, and I'm stuck emptying this lagoon every year for the foreseeable future. And reason number two is it would cost an awful lot of money. We will be getting a silage pit built at home which will replace the silage pit over here, so that's kind of like stage one of bringing this out farm home. And we can do that silage pit under permitted development. It's under 500 square meters, and because it's not used to house any animals, it doesn't have to go for an ammonia assessment. So the silage pit part of it is doable. The silage pit part of it will work. Potentially, I will get that done at the very start of next year. But with regards to extra slurry storage and extra cattle housing at home, that's not possible from a planning point of view, and it would probably cost me £250,000 to build accommodation for 120 animals plus a slurry tank. Okay, maybe not that much. £200,000, something like that. It would cost me a lot of money, that's for certain. But if I can get the silage pit built next year, at least I will have the ability to store the grass at home. So then, if it ever came in Northern Ireland that you could build replacement dwellings again, which logically it has to happen, like it just logically has to happen, otherwise the entire agricultural industry is finished. So when they finally do allow replacement buildings again, I want to be in a position where I'm ready to act. I'm ready to put up a new shed to bring this out from home, because if I miss that opportunity, I'm going to be kicking myself for the next 30 years every time I have to do this job. Now, how much can I load into this? Okay, that's pretty full, I think. I'll say that's the limit. Let's have some positivity. It's a glorious day. Right, I'm going to do a few more loads, then I'll give you a little tour of the out farm, show you the accommodation for the cattle, show you the silage pit, that sort of stuff. And then on our way home, we will stop off and look at our fourth cut silage, and I'll talk you through my gamble of sowing fertilizer 10 days ago and whether it's paid off or not. So while I've been spreading the manure on them fields, I have also been thinking. And I've been thinking that I might try and get this farm reseeded before the end of the year. Now I know it's the 12th or 13th of September. It's pretty late in the year to be reseeding, but the fields are destroyed. I'm not going to lose anything by even just getting it ploughed, so that next spring it'll dry out quicker, I can get it reseeded and get silage off a nice new clean lay. The issue with this plan is definitely the scheduling. So it does give good weather. There's high pressure coming in next week. I'm confident it'll be dry enough that I could get it ploughed. But the issue is I'm going to run out of time. I'm away on holidays for the first week of October. So that sets my latest I can finish this job by. And I also have 160 acres of fourth cut to do next week, which means I'm not going to get this started for at least 8 or 9 days. So realistically, I'm going to have a 1 week window between the 23rd of September and the 30th of September to try and get this ploughed and try and get this reseeded. In theory, it is possible. it is doable. We have enough tractors that we could be working away at slurry whilst I'm over here ploughing for 3 or 4 days. But the question then really becomes, is it too late in the year at the very end of September to reseed a field? And should I just be patient, get it drained if we have a nice spring next year, and then get it reseeded? But that's not a good option either, because then I'm not going to be taking any silage off this until like July. If I reseed this in 2 or 3 weeks' time, and I get a nice mild winter, I will have a really great crop of silage to take off this at the start of May. And whilst it does need drains, it has been cut plenty of normal years that haven't been as wet as this year, without issue. So does it really need drains? Well, yes, it really does need drains. It needs drains to cope with a really wet year like this. But if we get a normal couple of years where it's not dire, a reseed without drains would kind of work. Oh, I don't know. I just really don't like damaged wet fields. I just always want to fix them. This is the same block of ground which you've seen the disastrous silage on. So don't think that I'm a bad farmer. I have 350 acres and 320 acres of that is perfectly fine. That's a lie. 250 acres of that is perfectly fine. And then there's 100 acres which is neglected, like this stuff. Never been reseeded. Various reasons, either the fields are small, they're awkward, or in the case of this one, it's needed drains for the last 10 years. But I think I just need to get on with it, get it ploughed, and spend the money. Anyway, watch this space. If you see a YouTube video go up in 2 weeks, which is entitled, I'm ploughing 30 acres at the end of September, this is a bad idea, you'll know what decision I've made. And I kind of forgot to show you the out farm as well. So into our left here is the cubicles. They run the entire length of the open silage pit. The open silage pit is open front and back, and it uses what used to be called an easy feed system. So the cattle just eat off the face of the silage pit. But because we keep quite a lot of animals in here now, they also get a ring feeder. So we have to come over here 3 or 4 times a week in winter and block out silage and scrape them and do all that sort of stuff. This out farm is a real pain in the butt. Thankfully, I don't actually come over here, my dad does. It's another one of his responsibilities that is not my responsibility. But it does take a lot of work, it takes a lot of time in winter. The best thing about over here, there's very, very few health issues. The open air nature of that cubicle house with the big silo and the high roof does a wonderful job of keeping the animals healthy. Definitely something I'd want to replicate in any replacement building. The big downside is this lagoon, and also the fact that my calving cows and my in-calf heifers are not at the home farm. That is a really dumb situation, but it's just the way it is. Right, I'm going to be late for my son's swimming lessons, which is never good, so let's go and take a really, really quick look at our fourth cut silage, and we'll see how the fertilizer I applied 10 days ago has got on. Okay, so I'm actually going to be late, so you're getting a view out the window, but that is some of our fourth cut silage. Now 2 weeks ago that was visibly yellow in spots, and it has greened up remarkably well. Really, really happy with how it's growing. So in another week of sunshine with temperatures ranging from 15 to 20 degrees, that is going to bulk up even more. This makes me very, very relieved and very, very excited, because I was faced with a very big silage shortage, but there is a potential that is going to make up a significant proportion of my shortage. Anyway, I've got to be in a swimming pool in half an hour, so thank you very much for watching. Any comments, stick them down below, and please do consider subscribing if you haven't already. I will see you next week for Farm Theory News. Thanks for watching. Chat soon.